Ecclesiastes chapter 2, and in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, Solomon continues on with his complaining. This is the most complaining guy I've ever met in my life. And but what he's doing, and I think all of us need to do this, all of us need to challenge ourselves, is to really just set back and look at real life, real truth, weigh it out and say, okay, where am I at in all of this? Because the reality is, guys, some of us are foolish and some of us exercise wisdom. And some of us are foolish some of the time, and some of us exercise wisdom some of the time, and some of us are foolish just because we're foolish all the time, and some of us are still exercise wisdom some of the time, but we're not always wise. And I will not repeat that. It is on tape, and so you can get a copy when we're done. In Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 12, that's where we're going to be. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 12. And by the way, we're actually getting through this pretty good. Amen? All right. A lot better than Jude. For those of you who don't know, Jude is one chapter. Took us almost 9 months. It was like giving birth for some. All right, here we go. Amen and amen. All right. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 12. Then I turned myself to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can the man do who succeeds the king? Only what he has already done. So he's looking at this and he's like, you know what? Someone's going to come in and they're going to take my spot. And what are they going to be able to do that I haven't already done? They're going to do exactly what I've done or worse. Amen. And so this verse literally sets up today's sermon. It sets up the whole idea and the thinking process that Solomon has. And what Solomon's process is, why am I even bothering to do anything? Because I'm going to die. And someone else is just going to come along and take it. Anybody else feel like that? Okay, that's foolish thinking. I'm glad there were no hands, including my 8. So he says, I'm just going to die. Why bother? And you know, guys, as we go through this, I want you to think about these things. And as we go through, I will periodically remind you of the things that I'm telling you to think about, because I don't want you to stop thinking about the things I've asked you to think about. That's on tape too. So Solomon is going, all this work, all this money, all this effort, everything I've done, everything. And man, I got some wealth. I got everything, and I'm going to die, and someone else is going to take over it. So it's just foolishness. Why am I doing all of this? Let me help you. Sometimes we can get lost in thinking our efforts are of no value. There have been times as a pastor where I have to stop and ask myself, man, what have I done? You know, what difference have I made? And then people will come up and they're like, Pastor, you've invested in my life, and Pastor, you did this, and Pastor, you helped my family, and Pastor, you, because see, you guys all at home, and sometimes I get on this pity party. Anybody else get on pity parties? Come on, don't let, okay, my 8, thank you, be faithful there. And so we get on these pity parties like, what have I done, man? It's been worthless. I've wasted my time. I've wasted the years. I've not. And you know what? I sit back and I look at it, and everything that I do every day matters to someone. I have invested in my daughters, and I am so proud of both of my daughters. I have invested into this ministry, and I'm going to tell you, I am proud of this ministry, not arrogantly proud, because believe me, I know that just like that, it can disappear. I am so excited and proud of the people that are in this church and what they have done and who they're investing in and the people that they're making difference in. I get phone calls, I get text messages all the time. Pastor, I led my friend to the Lord. I led my family to the Lord. Pastor, I shared the gospel. Pastor, we were talking, we got in this deep discussion. I hung in there as long as I could, but could you help? And I'm going, man, you know, the reality is, guys, that when we invest in people, it changes lives. Now we can build an empire. We can make money. Listen, I'm going to tell you guys, contrary to making money is so easy. I can leave here and I can go out and I can, in a moment, make $500 to $1,000 a day. You give me 1 month and I will be dancing the happy dance. Someone like that. At any rate, I'll be dancing the happy dance. Why? Because making money's easy. I've always been able to make money. My whole life I can make money. But that's not what matters. What matters is, what have I put into you? What have I helped you with and helped you through? Because here's the reality. When I pour into you, you're going to pour into someone else. And when you pour into someone else, they're going to pour into someone else. And if you're foolish and you're unwise and you think that you just got to gain the world for you, guess what? You have just had this colossal downfall of foolishness. Solomon, oh man, I'm going to start calling him Eeyore. Right? Because he's just stuck in this. And by the way, he gets to the point of all of this. And if you guys keep coming every week, then eventually you're going to hear the point that Solomon has. But I'm going to help you a little bit along the way. And so Solomon's like, man, I built this whole thing and we're going to die. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. It just brings forth death. So who cares if you're wise and who cares if you're foolish? Because it all ends in the same place. And he's right. Except for what we pour into determines what keeps on living. Who cares if you remember my name if you keep carrying on that which God has said to do because you came here and heard a sermon that challenged you and changed your life? Who cares who I am? What matters is that the influence I had in your life has changed the multitude's lives. Solomon goes in, and as he goes on, we're going to read this, and you're going to see where his pity party is. But I want you to see, and Solomon, he gets to it. He's like, listen, anything that you hold on to in this world is just foolishness, and it's going to go away. You need to hold on to God. Well, that's it. But it takes him 10 chapters to get there. So I'll keep reminding you it's all about God, but let's look at his pity party just for another moment. So he goes on. He's in, we were in 12:13. Then I saw that wisdom excels folly as light excels the darkness. And I thought, okay, Solomon, I'm with you, dude. I like a little positivity, right? Wisdom is far, is more overpowering than foolishness. Wisdom will light up the room versus darkness. You know, darkness is just darkness. Guys, we didn't do this, but let's see how, never mind. We got way too many lights. But you guys understand, you go into a dark room, it's dark, right? And you're like, oh, I can't see anything. We're in a basement. Anybody ever go down into a dark basement and you're fumbling for the light switch? And then somebody took the cover off and you don't know it and you stick your hand in there and get shocked. Anybody ever do that? I got 2 of my 8. Okay, so we go through this, right? And you're like, oh man, it's so dark. Oh, a little anxiety because you're trying to find something. Oh man, you just busted a shin. Okay. And then finally you find the light switch and you turn it on. And you're like, wow, there's a lot of junk in this room I forgot about. All of a sudden we see everything and all the detail. And this is what he's talking about. He's talking about, you know what? Foolishness is like the dark room, man. There's just not a lot going on that's good in there. There's a lot of pain in there, a lot of things you're going to stumble and fall over. There's a lot of things that are going to catch your attention or take your life. There's a lot of anxiety in foolishness, right? Because you're in this dark room and you're trying to find the light and you don't know what's in there. And you're like, oh, so you start getting a little anxious amen? That's foolishness. And as soon as you hit the light switch where you can see everything, you're like, oh, it might be a train wreck, but it's still pretty good. I can see. So he says that wisdom, guys, and I want to encourage you that wisdom and foolishness, he's already contradicting the first statement that he said, that they're both the same. What's the difference? Who cares? Well, there's a lot of difference. And the difference is that you can be a fool and people are going to follow you off the cliff. Or you can exercise wisdom and train people up in the way that they would go, or to help encourage people in the way that they should go, or to teach people in what is the right way to go. And let me help you with this. You don't have to know God and the scripture to know what's right and wrong. You don't have to know all these verses to invest good into someone's life. You just have to be willing to do it. That's what makes the difference, guys. So when you think, oh, I just work to die. Yes, you do. because you want to eat, you want to have entertainment, you want to drive a nice car, and you want to live in a nice house, and you want to survive. More than survive, you want to live. Amen? And so you're going to work to die, because if you want it, you got to work. Paul even says that, listen, if you don't work, you shouldn't even eat. You should starve to death. You think I'm harsh? Paul's like, you ain't got a job. Yeah, let me know how that goes. I'll see you in heaven. You're going to die. That's Paul's idea. America's idea is feed them, money, 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 money. Keep them lazy, keep them at home, keep them not wanting to think, keep them not wanting to do, keep them not wanting to go out. And God says, man, exercise wisdom and live and go and work and make a difference in someone's life. And we have this tendency to just get so focused in that mirror on us that it is amazing. And then we allow the people around us to die. Maybe not physically die, but spiritually die or emotionally die or whatever that train wreck's going to look like. We allow it. Why? Well, because we have the attitude that Solomon has and says there's no difference in foolishness and wisdom. And I'm here to tell you that is not so. And then he tells you, look here in verse 14. A wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. Yet I myself perceive that the same events happen to them all. Again, he's talking about death. So it doesn't matter if you're wise or if you're a fool, you're going to die. Look here in 15. So I said in my heart, as it happens to the fool, it also happens to me. And why was I then more wise? Well, he already admits that he was more wise than the fool. And he's like, but the same thing's going to happen to both of us. So who cares? And it's like, Solomon, get a grip, dude. Like, quit whining and complaining. You already said that wisdom is better than foolishness. And so then he goes on and he says, then I said in my heart, this also is vanity. For there is no more remembrance of the wise than of the fool forever. Guys, do you believe that? Do you believe in what Solomon's saying here? There's no more remembrance of the wise than the fool? I don't agree with him here. Now, mind you, he's Eeyore. He's complaining, so he says foolish things. He also says that he's wise and foolish, right? And but remember, guys, what I said. Solomon was the wisest man that ever lived. 3,000 years later, we're still reading what he's got to say. Now, obviously, he didn't know this was going to happen, right? He didn't know that his words were going to carry on and on and on forever and forever and forever and impact generation after generation after generation. He had no clue that would happen. But what if he didn't invest in people? What if he didn't put this out there for everyone to learn, to read, and to hear? What difference would he have made? Guys, you have to understand this. The foolish and the wise, yes, we're all going to die. And the foolish, we just have to tolerate until they take their breath, their last breath. And then we mourn for a moment, and then we move on, and we celebrate life as it goes on. But everything we do between the first breath and the last breath will go on the rest of our life. Whether you're a fool or you're a wise man. And you say, well, how does it go on the rest of my life? Because it will continue on with what you put into someone else. It'll continue on. Listen, you are not an island of your own. You are not all by this. Okay, I'm about to hurt everybody's feelings in this room, except for my 8. This is not about you. It's about all of us, being a part of all of us, to make a difference in all of our lives, to be there to help when we need help, to invest in. Listen, if I stopped investing in my children when they were foolish, I'd have ended them about 3. Okay, 4. At 6, cuteness goes away, just so you parents know, right? I mean, they're cute in their look, but they're not cute in those actions. At some point, you're like, dude, when are you going to quit pooping in your diaper, right? When are you going to grow up? When are you going to... All right, maybe I was the only one thinking like that. But what do? We keep investing, and we keep investing, and we keep investing, and we keep investing, because here was our goal as parents. We want to have the best children ever. Not so we can say, oh, look at our kids, they rock. But so I can say, oh, look at my kid. No. Why did we do that? Because you know why? They're going to grow up and they're going to have kids. And as they grow up, they're going to impact people. And every one of us in this room, we impact someone. Every one of us in this room. And maybe it's just the people you deal with. I had a customer, when I lived in North Carolina, I had my own business. And matter of fact, I sold it to go to college, Bible college, so I could come here to start the church. And but I had this customer, and he would hire me all the time, and I'd show up, and he's like, John, how you doing? I'm like, dude, it's a great day. I always had a hop and a skip right in my step, and it was just wonderful. And then one day I show up, and I think my mom was in the hospital at the time. I was struggling. And so I show up, and he's like, John, how you doing? I go, dude, man, today's a hard day. And he goes, that's wonderful. And I had the look you got. Dude, it's not wonderful. I'm having a bad day. He goes, I've never met a guy in all my life that has as many great days as you have. You always, I'm just glad you're having a bad day like the rest of us. And I looked at him and I said, it'd be the last bad day I have when you're around. Right? But what do? Well, you know what we did? We make a difference in people's lives. And he was a customer, but I made a difference in his life. You have customers, you have family, you have friends, you have coworkers. What difference are you putting into their life? Because that is how they are going to turn out when they're around you. How people treat you is exactly the way you give them permission to treat you. And it's determined on how you act and what you do. And if you act a fool, people are going to treat you like a fool. And then if you're mad because you don't have no respect, look at the way you're acting. Look at what you're doing. Do you want to invest in people? I always want to invest in people. I always want to pour into them. Now, they don't always want to hear what I got to say, but I want to pour into them. And my saying is, listen, I love you so much, I'm willing to sacrifice the relationship to tell you the truth. That's how much I love you. But guys, listen, we have to invest in people. And when we invest in people, we find out that the wise and the fool are not alike. And by the way, there's only a couple of fools that we know of in the Bible that we read about all the time. And they didn't do anything. Oh, how about this? Judas. Was Judas wise or a fool? He was a fool. He traded life for 30 pieces of silver. He traded eternal life for 30 pieces of silver. And guys, I'm just going to tell you, you have option to have eternal life and you have option to go to hell. But you'll choose that, not God. And you will choose it by whether you're wise or you're a fool. And you go, Pastor, you're getting personal. I know. Verse 17. Verse 16. For there is no more remembrance of the wise than of the foolish, since all that now is will be forgotten in the days to come. And how does a wise man die? As the fool. No, you don't. Guys, I guess if you just look at you and you're constantly in the mirror, then he would be right. You die as the fool. But if you look at the lives that you have changed, because by the way, the lives you change are the only thing that makes a difference in the world. Someone say amen. It's not about things that we have. It's about people that we pour into, because those people go on. And they will go on very, very well the way you've taught them. I had of course, at the time, he had been a young man for me. He was working for me. And this was in North Carolina. He was working for me. And his name was Kurt. And, man, I poured into this kid, not just because he was my employee, but I poured into him because one day, man, he's going to be a man and he's going to be married and he's going to have children and he's going to have family and he's going to need to pour into them. And so he would come over and he would do things and he was like, You don't have to pay me for that, because he'd mess it up. And I go, dude, look, man's worthy of his hire. I'm going to pay you, but learn from this. And he would look at me stunned. Let's get busy. We got work to do. And he'd come over and he was working on a truck, rebuilding a truck, and he'd bring it over. He'd get something done. He was like, John, I just wanted to show you, man. I got it done. Look at this. I go, dude, that is awesome, man. He goes, I just want you to know you're the first one that I wanted to show. Why? Because I poured into him. I didn't just hire him. And then he goes to college and he writes a letter, or he writes he's got to write a paper about the person who influenced his life the most. It was me. And I thought, wow. Remember when we read it, how it just, oh my goodness. And I thought, I did? My goal wasn't to get that letter or have a paper written about the relationship he and I had. My goal was just to help pour into him and raise him up to be a godly man. We went, when I went to college, and please understand, I'm sharing this in humility. I want you to see that it makes a difference. So we go to college, and man, I still have the same mentality. I still have the same mentality of pouring into people. And so at any rate, we go and in school, and this, one of my friends was going to drop out. He's in the last year. And I said, why are you going to drop out? He goes, man, I'm getting horrible grades. I go, why are you getting horrible grades? He goes, because I'm not a smart guy. And I go, that's not true. Meet me at the library at University of Missouri, or MSU, Missouri State University. Anyway, I said, meet me in the library tonight. And he goes, I don't have time tonight. And I go, that's why you're failing. So he met me in the library. We went over and over and over some more work, because we're getting ready to have a test. So we get done. I said, tomorrow, meet me here again, same time. And he goes, I don't have time. I go, that's why you're failing. And so he met me. And I said, meet me. When we got done, I said, meet me here tomorrow night, same time. He goes, I don't have time. I go, what's your excuse? He goes, John, I don't know about you, but I got a family. And I go, do you know how silly you sound? Do I not have a wife and children as well? This is why you're failing. Meet me here tomorrow night. And he met me there that next night. Well, what we discovered was he was sitting to his homework, watching TV with his kids around, having conversation with them, and he's going about life and just adding schoolwork in when he could. I said, dude, no, you got to separate yourself, and you got to prepare yourself, and you got to pour into yourself so that you can pour into someone else. But if you don't pour into yourself and get yourself right like you should be, then you know what? You're going to look at yourself as a failure, and you're going to quit. And then you know what's going to happen to your children? They're going to look at you like you present yourself, and they'll quit. We don't quit. We might want to quit, and it's okay to want to quit. You just don't quit. We go in class the next day, and we take the exam. That sucker got a 98 and I got a 93. I was like, are you kidding me? Come graduation day, he's sitting there with the rest of us with his cap and gown on. And he told me, he said, John, I was going to quit. All I needed was someone to show me what I needed to do to succeed. He goes, thank you. See, guys, it's just that little extra. Just that little bit to say, I care so much about you that I'm going to pour into you. Yes, we're all going to die. And yes, we might die as fools or we might die as wise. But I'm going to choose to die wise and to teach others to do the same. I had a friend of mine that I went to school with, and he lives in Arizona. I didn't know this. But he calls me up. Well, actually, he writes me a letter. And he said, John, I was going to quit school my second semester. And I go, why? He goes, I just didn't think I was going to cut it. I couldn't do it no more. I go, what changed your mind? He goes, you came up to me, you shook my hand, you told me to have a seat beside you, and you became my friend. And he goes, I realized that's what I needed. And all through the 4 years we went through, we started the same semester and we graduated at the same time. And through all of that, unbeknownst to me, it was my acceptance of him as a friend and loving on him and investing in him and being a part of his life and his wife and his children, like I was there. And so he sent me this thing about 2 years ago. He says, hey, I just want you to know I'm writing a book. And I'm like, dude, you rock. And he goes, you're my main character. I'm going, what did I do? He goes, you just invested in me. You were there when you didn't even know you were there. And you know why? It's because it's what I do. I'm nobody special and I'm nothing special, but here's what I am. I am someone that is committed to you day in and day out. I am someone that is committed to you as long as you are committed to grow and to be different. And if we look at Solomon's idea and his thought process and we're like, oh, we're all doomed anyway, we're going to die, we're all fools, we're all wise, who cares, what's the difference? And we move. If we live with that attitude and we die with that attitude, then we have children that move on with that attitude. And I refuse to let somebody be a fool when I can invest in their life and help them to be different. And I'm nobody special, but here's what I recognize. Everybody's special. Now, we got some idiots that can't be helped. I'm lying. That's not true. Most people are jerks because they don't know how to love, and nobody loved them. It happens. But what's our attitude to help them change? I'm just saying, guys, you want the difference? Make the difference. Be the difference. All right. Verse 17. Therefore, because I had this silly idea. Guys, if you open those back doors for me, I'm sorry. I'm just going to turn on a fan, no air conditioning. Just circulate the air. Someone say amen. Ooh, I only got 2. That wasn't good. All right, here we go. I told someone earlier, we live by our decisions and we die by our decisions. So I'm taking a chance. Here we go. Verse 17. Therefore, because of what I just told you, that's what the therefore is there. Anytime we see a therefore, we find out what it's there for. And he says, therefore, I hated life because the work that was done under the sun was distressing me, for all is vanity and grasping for the wind. Guys, let me tell you something. If you are hating life and you're hating work and you're hating your job and you're hating on your family and you're hating on your friends and you're doing all that, that's just a miserable life and you're miserable, and so you're making everybody else's life miserable, let me tell you what your problem is. You got your eyes on the wrong stuff. You are focusing or going after things you don't need. You think things are going to help you? Look, we got King Solomon, who is now Eeyore. King Solomon, who was the wisest man and richest man in history, and here he's like, therefore is all death, and I'm just ready to die, and I got to give it away, and this is all useless, and my life is your focus is wrong. Who's your God? Who's your God? That's your focus. See? And if your God is work, that's your focus. If your God is sports, which I don't know anybody that would make sports their God, especially now as divisive as they have become. That's your God. Listen, you got a problem. Money your God, you got a problem. Things are your God, you got a problem. Are you your God? You got a problem. See, our focus gets wrong, and when our focus gets wrong, our actions get wrong, our heart gets wrong, our attitude gets wrong, and we become destructive rather than helpful. And we don't build people up, we destroy them. And then we expect them to be something that we want them to be after we've tore them down. It doesn't work that way. Out of curiosity, how many in here, your parents ripped you down instead of built you up? I'm just curious. I got way more than 8, don't I? I'm just going to tell you. Out of curiosity, how many in here grew up in a fatherless home? Your dad wasn't there. Or he was there, but he really wasn't there. Okay, there we go. It's all right. We get a few hands up, and then when you add in, oh, yeah, he lived in the house, but I didn't know it. It makes a difference, doesn't it? And then here's what happens. We start treating people like our fathers treated us. Oh, I looked at God like, I did a podcast here a few weeks ago. I don't think I put this one up, though. Maybe I did. I don't know. Keep listening. Eventually you'll find it. But I was talking about how we look at God like we look at our Father. That's how much difference a man makes in our life. I'm telling you. And my dad was a big man with a big stick waiting on me to mess up so he could beat the snot out of me. And when I got saved, they're like, oh, you got a new father. And I'm like, great, I got another big God with a big stick going to beat the snot out of me. I didn't get too excited about it when they're like, oh, you got a new father and he loves you. And I'm like, garbage. Why are you lying to me like that? Build me up in all this hype. I don't do that. Then I started learning and investing in who God was. And oh my goodness. Father God, nothing like my Father on earth. Man, he loves me and he pours into me. He sets the example. He gives us the Holy Spirit. He teaches, guides, directs, right? That's what we need to be. And guys, I'm going to tell you, if you're not looking at God in all of his glory, the way he should be seen, then you're going to look at something else to replace him, and it leads to death. Spiritually, emotionally, and eternally. And so, Solomon here in 17, he says, therefore, because of all the complaining I just did, starting in verse 12, and because everything I did is going to die, and a wise man dies as the fool, verse 16. 17, he says, because of that, that's the therefore, I hated life. Everything that was done distressed me, because my focus was on everything that I'm doing, and my focus was on me, and my focus wasn't investing in other people, and my focus wasn't in helping others. My focus was on what can I get for me, and then I got to give it away. Okay, all that's not written in there. That was my paraphrase. And he's like, you know what? It's like vanity and grasping for the wind. Verse 18, then I hated all my labor in which I had toiled under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who will come after me. Well, why didn't you train up someone in the way they should go so that you were happy to hand it over? Why didn't you invest in the child that you have? Because I can assure you, with 700 wives and 300 concubines, you had children. Why didn't you just pick one to raise that was right? I had an encounter with a man yesterday, and I'm just going to tell you, he has no honor. None. He's foolish on every level. He's a bully. He's a bully on every level. And he gets like right here in my face. And inside I'm like, don't forget you're a Christian. Don't forget you're a Christian. Don't forget you love Jesus. Don't forget. Like I had to talk myself off the ledge. But I looked at him and I said, why is it that you only want to destroy people and you don't want to help people? You ever think that if you try to help someone, a difference it would make in your life and theirs? And he immediately stayed in the bully mode. And I thought, I don't like bullies. I love Jesus. You better praise Jesus. I love Jesus, or else you're going to meet the Jesus I love. But I kept saying, remember you're a Christian. Remember you're a Christian. And I contained myself for the love of God. But guys, listen, his focus is on, oh my goodness, I got to give my riches away. Oh my goodness, I got to give everything I worked for, my kingdom, and who's going to remember me? Remember in his last verse, he's like, nobody remembers the wise or the fool. And he's like, I got to give away all my riches, and who's going to remember me? And all this was in vain, and it was all vanity. And he goes on this little bitty crying kick, and guys, let me help you. Who cares how much money you made? You're not taking it with you. Who cares how famous you were? Who cares? You know what matters to me? That everyone in this church, that when you leave, if you've come in contact with me, if not, you don't even have to like me. God didn't call me here to make friends. It makes it easier. God called me to teach the Word of God. Amen. But no matter what, I want everyone, when after they've met me and dealt with me, they might say, whew, that dude was rough as a cob, man. He was like, as a matter of fact, this was how I was described in college by the dean of men who nominated me to be the senior class speaker. Now think about that, because it wasn't the guy who got the greatest grade, average or GPA. All of the staff and faculty had to pick the person to be the senior class speaker. Right? I didn't know this. I thought it had to be with the best GPA, and I'm like, I'll listen. I'm definitely not going to be the one talking. And I get this letter in my mailbox. You were nominated by the faculty and staff of Baptist Bible College to be the senior class speaker. I went, oh, you know somebody messed up bad. I'm not kidding you. So I took the paperwork down and I took it into the office and I took it to Bill Lovergood, who, dear friend of mine, and he's the dean of men. And anyway, I took it in and I said, Bill, there's been a mistake. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, this is in the wrong mailbox. This was in my mailbox. You might want to take care of that. And he looked at it and he goes, that's no mistake. And I went, did somebody fall and bump their head and not recover? Right? And he said, John, you're it. And I said, Bill, how? He said, we had to stop and look at everyone who really invested into this school. Not just invested into the school itself, but invested in every way that you can invest in. And he said, you know something, John? Man, you spent your own money to make a difference in college kids' lives. You spent your own money buying people. Anyway, he just goes down this whole list. He goes, every game you were there, and I wasn't just there. I actually designed, created, raised money for a mascot. The big head, the whole hot bodysuit, all that. Not only did I raise the money, but at 36, 30, because I did it the first year I was there, I was like, hey, what's missing in this school? How can I make a difference? How can I invest? How can I do? That was my whole mentality, right? And so from 36 years old till when I graduated at 39 years old, I was the college mascot. And I would lose 5 to 8 pounds every game. Because when you got freedom to act a fool and nobody knows who you are, I am so good at that. And so I became the mascot. And I was just every way I could think to make a difference in somebody else's life, I did it. Then there were students that were there, and I had my own business. I started my own business when I was in college because I thought, man, I can't work for $10 an hour for the man. When I got all this college and 2 kids, wife, a house, I got to pay for it. So I started my own business. And then it was in automotive repair. And so I had a van. I would show up on site and fix a car where it was at. And there were students there that I knew they were struggling. They would call me up and I'd charge them half price, or I'd tell them, catch me on the next one. Just call me back. And I wouldn't charge them. Every way I could think of. Students that were negative and complaining, I'm like, stop, man. What are you doing? You're poisoning the water. Students that were selfish, I'm like, you need to go to an island all by yourself and sit there for a while until you realize the value of people. Like, this is what I did. And he said, John, that's why you were nominated as senior class speaker. I go, dude, I'm stunned. And he goes, oh, we know because you are like, and this is how he described me. We know because you are like sandpaper on an open wound. I'm not kidding you. Listen, my wife can verify every bit of this. That's how they describe me. Sandpaper on an open wound. And I'm like, dude, you just really encouraged me. And he said, but you love people. And they know it. They don't even like what you got to say, but they know what you say is the truth. And so I was nominated by the staff and the faculty of the college to be the senior class speaker. Guys, I'm just going to tell you, we can look at this the way Solomon looks at it. And we can, I must be having hot flashes. The rest of you look like you're cold. Is that my feminine side? I don't know. Anyway, God is softening me. So we can look at it the way Solomon looks at it, or we can look at it and go, I'm going to invest. So by the way, the guy who said, John, it's because you invited me to sit with you. You invited me to be your friend, man, and you stayed my friend the whole, like it wasn't fake, right? In the process, I was also teaching him how to work on cars. Like he'd call me up, I'd go and work on his car, and look, he's wife and 2 kids just like I am. He's trying to make it through. Both he and his wife both were in college. And so I knew, and so he would call me up. Hey, yeah, man, I can fix it. So I go over there and he's like, okay, well, here's the key. And I go, the key? Dude, you're about to learn. Get over here and let's do this together. You'll save money today because you're going to pay me a fraction of what you would have paid me if you had to watch me and tell me how to do it. And the next time you don't need to call me. Take the money you'd spend on me, buy tools and do it yourself. And you say, well, that's not good business. Oh, it is good business because God will give me 3 more customers for taking care of the one like I did. Right? Which is, how do we look at it? How do we see things? Guys, that's going to determine what we do. And if all you see is, it's in it for me, then guess what? You're right. And you'll be Solomon. And you know what? Everybody under you, they're going to act just like you. Look here in 18. Then I hated all my labor in which, because he had given away. Verse 19. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool? Yet he will rule over my labor in which I toiled, in which I have shown myself wise under the sun. This also is vanity. Who knows if he's going to be wise or a fool when he takes over my stuff? How about this, Solomon? You're the king, and you can invest, and you can raise one up, and you can appoint him the next king. Why get upset when you can determine how this is going to go? Why are we upset in our homes when we can control and determine how it should go? And I'm just going to tell you that I had a conversation with someone the other day, and we were talking, and some of you guys are in mixed, married, divorced, remarried, so we've got children from everywhere coming in. And by the way, you guys need to hear me on this. Everyone that's in these mixed homes, divorced and remarried homes. When you walk into a house, Dad, and you marry the mom of those children, you married the children. And you better treat them like they're your own. And you better love on them. And you better quit looking at them the way Solomon looks at people. And you better look at them and say, that he's going to carry on me. And we make sure that we invest and we carry those children on as our own. Man, whoever sees my children, they know exactly how the parents are. That's what they say. Oh, you want to know how the parents are? Look at the kids. That's what they say. I don't know how true it is, but I'm not taking a chance on looking like a fool. Amen. There's some of you appreciated that. How many appreciated that? My 8. Amen. My 8. I'm in. All right. So listen to me. You guys invest. You invest. And if you don't have children, find some to invest in. You'll determine the future. Because remember this, one day I'm going to be old and I'm going to need my diaper changed. And I want a generation that can do it adequately and with a good attitude. Let me tell you something. You got someone changing an old man's poopy diaper and they're smiling about it, they got a good attitude. They're going to go a long way. Second time around, it may not be as fun as the first, but I'm just going to say, how do we get that generation? Man, we treat them like our own. We raise them up in the way they should go. We invest in them. And you start picking sides, or you start deciding, well, they're not my children, they're her children. And ladies, if you start going, well, they're not my children, they're his children, you are a fool to the core. According to the Bible, not me. That's that sandpaper on open wound thing. I got to be careful of it. I'm just going to tell you, those kids will turn out exactly the way you treat them. They will do exactly what you tell them they can do. And they won't do what you tell them they can't do. And it goes along with other people as well. You take an adult, I've never seen a generation with such insecure adults as what we have today. I'm sorry, but I haven't. Boy, I mean, some of you have been convinced you're worthless, and that's a lie from the pit of hell. Some of you have been convinced you can't do something. That's a lie from the pit of hell. I'm going to tell you, God says that I have given you life, that you can enjoy all things, and I've made you in my image. And why should we think any less of ourselves than what God thinks of us? Man, I refuse to give someone that much power over my life. You want to encourage me? I'm all in. You want to tear me down? Have a great life. We're done. And I've had people talk to me and say things to me that are just unbecoming of a Christian. And I'm going, okay. God bless, because this is the last time we'll talk. Right? Guys, why would you give someone that much power to destroy your life? I don't get it. I just don't get it. And if you're the one destroying people's lives, why would you want to do such a thing? I don't get it. Unless you have the mentality of Solomon, who's like, I got to give away everything that's mine, and nobody's good enough for my stuff. Man, you know what God says about that? You fool, this day your life will be required of you. Oh yeah, we're going to read about that, Luke chapter 12. We're not going there for sake of time because I'm going to wrap up, but I want you to take that home, Luke chapter 12. You fool, this day your soul will be required of you. You fool. And you know why? Because he's like, hey, I got all I need. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tear down my barns. I'm going to build bigger barns. I'm going to stack them full so I can just celebrate life while everyone else is suffering. And God's like, you fool. Who's going to take that stuff when you're gone? Because you're going to die. Guys, I want you to go on. And you can tell people, man, Pastor John, he is like sandpaper on an open wound. But he loves me. Right? Listen, I'm okay with that. I am really okay with that. Listen, my girls will tell you, Dad wasn't my best friend. Dad was my dad. And you can say, Pastor wasn't my best friend, but Pastor was my pastor and he loved me. Because what does a pastor do? He shepherds those that God brings in for him to shepherd. That's what we want to do. That's okay. That's what I want to do. And if you want to do anything less with your friends, family, coworkers, and children, shame on you. Verse 20. And the reason I say that, because in 19, he's like, and who knows whether he'll be a wise or a fool? Raise him up and you'll know what he'll be. All right, I'm done. Here we go. 20. Therefore, I turned my heart and despaired all the labor in which I had toiled under the sun. I turned my heart and I looked at everything I'd done and I couldn't hardly breathe. I was so depressed. I got to give it away. Instead of saying, man, you know what? Look at all I did for everyone to enjoy, learn, and grow from. That is the coolest. Thank you, God. Different attitude, isn't it? And that's what we have to start. Guys, I'm just telling you, invest, 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 invest in others. Quit looking at it the way Solomon looks at it, crying and complaining and moaning. Oh my. Verse 21. For there is a man whose labor is with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, yet he must leave his heritage to a man who has not labored for it. This also is vanity and a great evil. And you know what? That might be true. You might earn an absolute dream of a world that someone else just walks in and takes over. But you make sure he sees your handprint and your fingerprint all over the place. So he's reminded of wisdom. You can still do that. Verse 23. For all his days are sorrowful and his work burdensome. Even in the night, his heart takes no rest. This also is vanity. Nothing is better. I'm going to stop right there at 23 because 24 picks. No, let's do it. Let's do 24 through 26. No, I'm not. All right. Done. You got to stop. Got to stop. Because your mind can only take in what your butt can endure. So we're going to stop. But let me say this. You'll decide whether you want to be foolish or wise. And your actions toward others will show your decision. Your contentment on the inside will be dictated by those very same decisions. I will say it again. You and I, we will live or we will die by every decision we make, but we'll also take somebody with us. We will take somebody with us. You have to decide which direction you want to take them. God decided that he wanted to give you wisdom. God decided, as a matter of fact, remember a few weeks ago we were in Proverbs chapter 8, and it was all about wisdom. And God says, man, I put wisdom everywhere. So everywhere you go, you can see wisdom and you can take wisdom with you. I wonder what would happen to the people around us if we had the same mindset toward helping them with wisdom that God had toward us with wisdom. I'm just curious. I'm curious of what the children would look like. And how they would act. I'm curious of the strength that people would start gaining as they walk through life. I'm curious of the people that walk like this every day. Every day you see them, this is the way they walk. And then one day, man, you jump in there and you start investing in their life, and before you know it, they're like, man, God's good. And they start looking people in the eye. You know why? Because their confidence is back. You know why? Because you built them up, not falsely. You prepared them, you equipped them, you build them up in the way that they should go. And I'm going to tell you, when someone is right, they're right, and they will stand straight and tall and not move. They'll be victorious. But you tear them down, and that's what you're going to get. You're going to get this. They're not going to look anybody in the eye. They're just going to be slumpy, and it's just, oh man, it's slumpy. Sometimes they're my best words. The ones I make up. Guys, we legit determine other people's lives. What do you want to do with them? What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with their life? Are you one of those parents who go, oh, I'll just let my kids figure it out for themselves? You are a fool. Like, I wanted to throw that a little descriptive word in there, but I'm not going to. Why would you do that? And why would you let somebody walk around defeated when you are the one that can build them up? Why would you do that? I don't get it. If we would go back, some people were like, old school, man, that's old, that's gone. Well, I'm going to tell you what, old school built this country, saved this country. Old school saved other countries. Old school rocks. And I ain't saying it just because I'm old school. I'm saying it because it's truth. This new mentality that everything's virtual and I got to stop. I'm done. Let's go to the Lord in prayer because I'm about to preach a whole new message. I'm just, God, am I the only one that's frustrated by amen, thank you. Because you knew what I was about to say. Father in heaven, Father, you are so good. And you love us so much. Father, you love us so much that you have given us victory. Father, you love us so much that you have put everything there that we need for us to be successful. Father, you have equipped us, those of us that want to be equipped. For those who don't, you still offer the same to that person as you have offered to me and others. And the same as that of Jesus Christ. That's the beginning. That's the start. And Father, if we don't have Jesus as our Lord and Savior, we will not do things your way adequately. Because we'll get caught up like Solomon and we'll just keep looking into the mirror, looking for what we want the way we want it. And then complain about others for them not being what you want them to be or what we want them to be. But Father, if we have Jesus, then we look in the mirror and say, Father, help me, help them. Help me make a difference in their life. Father, when we have Jesus, we look in the mirror and we see you and the deficiency in us, but the promise that you offer. Without Jesus, we look in the mirror and we just see Solomon. Father, for those who are here today that may not know Jesus as their Lord and Savior, help them right now to see that's the beginning of wisdom. That's the beginning of godly knowledge and understanding. That is the beginning of life. With every head bowed and every eye closed, nobody looking around. If you're here today and you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, it's going to be a struggle to take your eyes off of yourself. If you don't have Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you are prone to see only you and that which you covet. If you don't know Jesus as your Savior, you're never going to have the wisdom of God which changes your life and everybody's life around you. And so today I want to offer you and give you the opportunity to receive Christ as your Savior. And you got to do this because you want to do it, not because you're looking for another selfish motive, because God will not accept that attitude. And so if it's your desire right now to start with Jesus, then you pray this simple prayer. Understand the words aren't magical. The words don't save you. It's the fact that you have asked Jesus Christ to come in and to be in your life because you are putting your faith and your trust in Him. The prayer just gives you a timestamp so that when Satan beats you up, you can say, no, this day when I was sitting in church, I decided on purpose to make Jesus my Lord and Savior. That's all it is. It's just a prayer to give you a timestamp. And so if it's your desire to surrender your life to Christ, I didn't say understand all the Bible. That comes with time. But if it's your desire to give your life to Christ, because you understand that without Him, you'll never make it to heaven. Without Him, you'll never have wisdom. And without Him, you have no hope. You only have that which you have now, and that's yourself. Pray this prayer, if it's your desire. Father in heaven, today I surrender. I put all my faith in Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Father, I accept your gift of your Son that brings me eternal life. And so right now, I ask you to forgive me of all of my sin. Every wrong I've ever done, I ask you to forgive me of. Today, right now, I repent of those sins. I will no longer walk in that direction. I will turn and walk toward you to the best of my ability always. Today, I give you my life. Today, I ask that you give me wisdom so that I would not be the fool and I can pour into other people's lives to make a difference.
We at Connecting Point Church are excited to have you join us. When you come, you'll experience a friendly, lively, and casual family-like atmosphere that welcomes you as you are. Our messages combine straightforward biblical truths, humor, and life-changing challenges for you to learn and grow in God's Word. We believe in connecting people to Christ, to the plans and gifts He has for them, and with people in our community who share these values. We also believe in reaching out to our local area and the regions beyond. We're dedicated to being a place where your entire family can believe, belong, and become all that God intends you to be. Discover the abundance of life in Jesus Christ as you begin to understand the roots of the problems and learn to apply the tools for you to triumph over your challenges today. It'll be a breath of fresh air in this unsettled world.